Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reviewing the Alps Mountaineering Lynx One backpacking tent. So let's get right into it. So first we're going to be talking about the features on the outside of the tent. I'll go over those, and then I'll be talking about features on the inside of the tent, and then I'm going to kind of talk about the tent as a whole and give my reviews on all of that. And at the very end, I'm going to give you sort of my opinion of the tent and whether I think it deserves a spot on your gear list or not. So let's go. Feature number one of this tent is I just want you to be aware that this is made out of nylon, so it's not Dyneema or anything like that, kind of the higher end material. It is just nylon, so when it gets wet, it's gonna kind of hold that moisture on top of it a little bit more, and it's also going to, in the sun, for instance, like it's been out here for about an hour, and it's losing a little bit of the tautness, but it's not bad. But just be aware of what kind of material it's made out of. So it is nylon. I wanted you to be aware of that. Next thing is, this is, I guess, an outside feature. The tent stakes here that come with it, not a huge deal, but they are definitely not like the lightest or kind of nicest tent stakes in the world, but they definitely will do the job. So they're not so bad they're going to break on you immediately, nothing like that, but they are not super light tent stakes. So I would encourage you to get better ones if you're going to be using this tent for the long term. Next feature is that it does not come with any kind of ground cloth or ground cover, whatever you want to call that. And there are sort of mixed reviews on whether you even need one. Some people like them, some people don't. Some people don't want to carry the weight, but you know, all that stuff. So you have to kind of figure that out for yourself if it's worth it for you, but just so you're aware, it does not come with any kind of ground cloth. The next thing here is, and we'll talk about this a little bit more as we get inside the tent as well, but the vestibule here, it's a really nice large vestibule, which is a feature that I really enjoy. And I'm going to be talking about this more when we get to the inside of the tent as well, but I just wanted to point it out here for you. So it is a semi-freestanding, I think they call it a freestanding tent, but I would say it's semi-freestanding because you need to stake out the corners to get the full sort of dimensions of the inside of the tent that you want. But if you don't stake it out, you're still going to get, like, the tent's going to stand on its own, all of that. But yeah, so technically it's a semi-freestanding, but it's basically a freestanding tent. If you ask me, I would just call it freestanding. Next feature is just a fun little one. They actually have Velcro here in these little things there that you can actually prop this open so you get some better ventilation from inside the tent out. And if you don't want it to be propped open for whatever reason, you can just keep it closed, but in a Velcro shut. So depending on which one you want, that is a feature. It's sort of one of those like little added features that isn't going to be a selling point of the tent in my opinion, but it's not a bad feature to have. So there you go. That's the outside of the tent, and we're going to go to the inside next. All right, I'm going to go ahead and unzip this. And something I want you to notice, the Velcro keeping it shut right there. It is not waterproofed zipper, but something I like is you'll notice, now it is staked out, but I'm doing this one-handed. And there are tents that I've dealt with, even when they're staked out, when the vestibule is staked out, that if you try to open that one-handed, it won't work. So nice little feature, little plug for the Lynx One is that you can actually unzip the Rainfly with one hand, no problem. I love that. And then I'm gonna just do this. Now, if you've dealt with bad zippers before, you know why that's really cool and why it's really important. I can unzip and rezip that with one hand over and over and over again, and it doesn't catch on any loose fabric, doesn't catch on any loose like thread that's there from a poor stitch job, nothing like that. It's really clean and it just works. Really like that. All right, I'm gonna open this up. Right there. I'm not gonna do this because I only have one hand, but you can actually roll this up and then do it in such a way that it actually stays rolled up so you can keep the vestibule open if you want to. So if you don't need it closed all the time, you can actually roll it up and then secure it to the side of the tent using this guy right here. And you can actually keep the vestibule open on the Rainfly, which is a really nice feature as well. So a lot of these like little features on the outside that you want to look for when looking at backpacking tents or any kind of tent that just give you nice features. None of them are selling points on their own, but they are all nice together. So let's move inside. Pay attention as well. I'm going to be opening this single-handedly, which, believe me, not every tent lets you do. So I can open it up. Nice big opening. Oh no. Nice big opening there. So great way to get in and out. Doesn't feel too tight or too cramped to get in and out of it. It's great. So we're going to head inside the tent now. All right, and now I'm inside the tent, obviously, and I just wanted to show you sort of the headroom here. So not a lot extra, but for a single person tent, I'm going to be the only one in it. And the headroom's fine. I'm 5'10", I can sit upright just like this in the tent and have enough space. So not a lot of side to side, that kind of thing, but really not bad headroom for a single person, what's trying to be a lightweight backpacking tent. So a couple of features inside the tent here. Feature one is just the pouch over there, that kind of mesh pouch on the, I'm gonna call it the foot end. It's a square bathtub, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I'm gonna call it the foot side. So there's a mesh pouch on the foot side, and also there is a one on the head side. So there's a pouch on each side, which is really nice. I do actually really enjoy that. And the next thing is that it's a square bathtub. So when I say bathtub, what I mean is basically this material here in backpacking tents. This is called a bathtub. So square bathtub gives you a bit extra foot room. And the other thing is that you can also kind of store some gear, that sort of thing. So it gives you just a little bit of extra room to work with. I really appreciate and I really enjoy. So there you go. Another thing is that actually all of these seams here that you're gonna see on the tent are double stitched, which really small, minor thing, because everything should be double stitched, but it is double stitched, which is always just good to see. The other thing I wanted to show you was the vestibule from the inside, so you can see how much room there is. Oh, I got caught on it a little bit, so there you go. That's good to know. And zipping this down one-handed is actually kind of tough. So I'm zipped out about as far as my arm can reach. What I'm showing you here is that you actually get a really nice sized vestibule. So there's plenty of room in here to store your gear, your shoes, all that stuff, and then not get in the way of yourself. So one of my sort of pet peeves of backpacking tent vestibules is when they're so small that you can put your shoes down, sure, but then you're stepping over them or on them to get out of the tent, or your gear's here, but you have to like basically move it outside to then be able to get out of the tent, that sort of thing. And this vestibule is actually really nice size to be able to store all of your gear, minus your food, of course, for the night, and I have to worry about it. So yeah, really appreciate the vestibule here. And let's go to the outside again. All right, so we're back to the outside, and I'm just gonna talk about the tent as a whole now, sort of my opinions of it, and what I think about it, and whether I think it should be on your list of backpacking gear to consider or not. A couple of features I do appreciate about the tent is, for the most part, you can zip and unzip this without too much difficulty, even with one hand. From the inside, I was having a bit of a rough time with one hand, but from the outside, I could zip it up and down just fine. Another thing is the vestibule size is really nice. The tent stakes are fine. They're not amazing, but they're fine. Some features that they could upgrade and update as they went along would be things like the rainfly. The clips here don't need to be that big to keep the rainfly in place. So I wouldn't mind seeing them actually sort of update some of those things and just do a little bit of quality of life updates. So I'm actually gonna unclip this as well, so you can see what the tent looks like without the rainfly a little bit. So what they did here for the tent stakes, or sorry, the tent poles, is just a crisscross, and then just like a lot of backpacking tents, you just clip it to the poles. What I will say is I really like this design because it has two sets of poles. The poles are actually decent feeling, like they don't feel super cheap, like they're gonna break right away. I didn't feel bad about bending them or like I was gonna ruin everything by bending them. And that's actually not a feature I've experienced in every backpacking tent. So really like the design. I really like that the vestibule is on the side, not the, I have a backpacking tent by Big Agnes that I love, but the entrance is right here. And it's kind of a pain to sort of crawl into your tent and out of your tent. Whereas on the side, it just gives it a lot better access. Sorry for the quick change of scenery here. My phone kept overheating while trying to record this video. It's really hot here right now, so I have to do the rest here. I just want to give you my final thoughts on the tent, whether I think it deserves to be in your gear list or not. If you just want the short answer is yes. In general, I think it's a great item to have on your gear list. For what you get, for what you pay, it's really good. The ratio is really good there. There are a few things about the tent that I don't love, but they're pretty minor compared to what you do get out of the tent. Some things I really loved about the tent is that the tent poles themselves actually felt pretty sturdy, especially for a budget tent. They didn't feel like they were going to break or anything. Sometimes when you are bending those poles, trying to set up your tent, you do feel like you're going to break the poles in the process, and these ones did not feel like that. So really appreciated that. They could have been a little bit higher quality, a little bit more durable feeling, but they weren't bad. So once again, for a budget tent, I think it's really good. The next thing is the stakes that they give you with the tent did not feel cheap. They are definitely heavier than they needed to be, but that would also cost more. So they're trying to kind of balance this thing between budget and ultralight and lightweight and cost, all that kind of stuff. So I understand why they did what they did, but these stakes were a little bit heavy and a little bit more bulky than they really needed to be. But overall, they felt durable, and you could definitely buy this tent and just take it straight out and not have to worry about replacing any parts before you went backpacking with it. One of the next things that I did enjoy was the actual setup of the tent poles, is they kind of have the cross pattern. I really enjoy that because it also allows for a side of the tent opening for an entrance and exit instead of on the head or the tail, whatever you want to call that. I really enjoy that a lot more than trying to kind of go in through the front or the back, because you just feel like you're kind of like crawling into it, whereas from the side, it just feels a lot more comfortable. So I really appreciated that about the Lynx one as well. Next, the features of the tent: having a mesh pouch at the kind of the feet and a mesh pouch at the head gives you enough storage for what I usually have to have inside the tent with me. So I really appreciate that they added those features in, because not every backpacking tent does have those features, especially like the cheap ones. But since this is what I would call a budget tent, not a cheap tent, it did include those, which is great. The ease of setup for the tent was also another really big feature that I enjoyed. It was super simple to set up, and it was very intuitive. I didn't have to like read the instructions or anything like that for it. Most tents kind of set up the same way after a while, but this one was no exception to that. It set up really cleanly, really easily, and I appreciated how it just everything clipped into place, and you knew exactly where you're supposed to put everything, even the rainfly on top of it. You're able just to kind of put it right in place, clip it in, and you knew what you're doing. So I really enjoyed the ease of setup with it. The next one is sort of in the middle ground. It's the weight of the tent itself and then the pack size of the tent. So the weight is not bad. It's definitely not an ultralight tent by any means, but it's definitely also not like a camping tent or a really heavy tent. So the balance that they kind of struck with like how the cost of material they had to use and then how much they're selling it for versus like the weight and the pack size of it was, I think they pretty well like kind of fit in the middle pretty well there. So I do like that with the weight. And I'll put all the stats up here again for you so you can see that. And the next thing was the pack size. So the pack size felt a little bit big, but once again, they're trying to use material that allows them to get it into your hands for a cheaper cost. So I understand why they did that, but the pack size does feel a little bit big. When if you compare it to something like my less economical 2-person backpacking tent, which is like a true lightweight backpacking tent from Big Agnes, it's about twice the size of my 2-person Big Agnes backpacking tent. So definitely different. It is not nearly as small as that one, but once again, for the balance we're trying to strike between being a budget tent but also still being a backpacking tent, I think they did a really great job. Some features that I do wish they would have included or that they could do slightly better, for one thing, is the pack size and the weight. I think they could actually just replace a little bit of material or change some features that would help them out in that area. For instance, the clips for the Rainfly, when you're clipping it on, those clips are really big. They don't need to be that big, so just like reducing the size of those would actually help you out a little bit. The next one would obviously be the material they make the tent out of, but that's a much bigger process and kind of thing you want to do. So if they could change the material they made the tent out of, it would be a lot better. But once again, for being a budget backpacking tent, I think it's a really great deal. Another feature I forgot to mention that I do enjoy is that when I was zipping and unzipping the vestibule from the outside, it was really clean. I could do it one-handed, no problem, as long as the vestibule was kind of hooked into the stakes for the vestibule. I could do it no problem with one hand, and that's a really big feature for me. I love that it's so annoying when you're carrying something in one hand and you're trying to unzip your vestibule or your tent with the other hand, and it won't zip or unzip, and you have to use both hands to do it. It's just a pet peeve of mine. I think it's an indication a little bit of quality of make. So this tent was really great with that. It actually allowed me to zip and unzip the vestibule and the tent door itself, no problem. From the inside, the vestibule was a little bit harder to zip closed, but that's because I'm reaching further to try to zip the vestibule closed while doing it one-handed. So fair enough to that, but I did actually really enjoy how easily, like the quality of zipper on the tent was definitely a higher quality than some other tents I've dealt with. So really appreciated that. However, since it's like the cons side of it, I would say that since it was a little bit more difficult for me to zip and unzip the vestibule from the inside, maybe be aware of that, because even though I had the vestibule as tight as I could make it, it was kind of getting in the way of the zipper a little bit when I was unzipping and zipping it from the inside. So just be aware of that feature as well. That's about all I have to say about the Alps Mountaineering Lynx One backpacking tent. Overall, I would say it's a great one to put on your list for a budget 1-person backpacking tent. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.